Hey you guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And today I am starting a series over here that I am very, very excited about. It might be cheesy in concept, but I think it will be really fun to do and a fun way for me to revisit some of my favorite books or books that have had some meaning to me in my life. And I'll get to that in just a second, but before I do, I want to announce the date for the next True Crime Book Club live stream. It will be Sunday, July 21st, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and it will be off of the Facebook page. So the True Crime Book Club Facebook page is where all the information is, announcing of the books. I also announce them over here, but it's where all the information for the book club is. So if you want to be part of the book club, you either follow the videos over here or you join the Facebook book club. I know that some people said they don't have Facebook, and I'm really sorry. We tried to find some different places to broadcast the live stream, and YouNow was just so glitchy. Twitch would take a lot to just like start it, just to do it once a month, and so we're not going to do that. And so Mel suggested that we do it straight off the Facebook page. It's been wonderful so far. It's been a great place to do it. We can still guest people over there and stuff like that. So it will be Sunday, July 21st at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will be discussing the May and June books for a True Crime Book Club. And then in August, we will be discussing the July book. So, just want to make that announcement. Mel will be putting that announcement up on the Facebook group as well. So let's get into the new series that I'm starting over here. I've kind of talked a little bit, I think, about this on my vlog, or maybe hinted out about it over here as well. But it was an idea that I came up with, I don't know, a couple months ago. It was about the same time that I came up with the idea for my movie club. So for those of you that don't know, on my Peter Does Stuff channel, I am hosting a movie club. And every Friday, I pick a movie from my past, some movie that kind of affected me in some kind of way, and usually a movie that means a lot to me. And then we all watch it as a group for that week, and then the following week I review that film and what I thought about it, watching it all these years later, and then I pick the next film for the next week. So I was thinking about it at that time, I was thinking about different books, and so I was like, well, maybe I'll do like a readathon over here or something of past books. But the thing is that I am not somebody that loves to reread books. There are certain books in my life that I have reread many, many times, like To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, She's Come Undone by Wally Lamb, Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. But other than that, there aren't a lot of books that I have. Ferris Beach by Jill McCorkle, I think I've read 2 or 3 times. But there aren't many books that I have reread over and over and over again. There are so many books that I want to read, and I know there are so many people out there that reread books, and I have a lot of friends of mine that love to reread books, but I'm just not somebody that does. There are so many books out there. I love to rewatch movies, so I don't know why I feel differently about that than I do books, but there are so many books out there that I still want to read, and in fact, I mean, I have like 460 or 70 Audible books that I've purchased and I've never read. So there's so many, I have so many books here on the bookshelf. So for those of you that don't know, I just cleaned up my bookshelf, and I also cleaned up all the books in the basement. And other than like 30 books that are still in the basement, all the books in my bookshelf are books that the top shelves over there, the top 2 or 3, I think. I'll do it like if you guys want to see a book shelf tour, I can do one of those. But the top 3 shelves on the left-hand side are all of like my favorite books. Every other book on the bookshelf are books that I've never read before. And then I have boxes and boxes and boxes of books to donate. So in thinking about all this, I was like, I want to kind of revisit some of my favorite books. And so I thought, what about just like once a week, once every other week? Boo Radley just came to the top of the stairs. He's staring. Well, hi, Boo Radley. He's like wondering why I'm sitting down here filming today. My plan was to go to the pool, but it got so cloudy, and now there's not a lot of light in this room, so I'm trying to sit over here to get the last glimpses of light. But I thought it'd be really fun to just grab a book off the bookshelf, a book that means something to me, and just kind of tell you guys the story about how I was introduced to that book. I don't know if this is interesting to anybody, but I thought for me it'd be kind of a way to relive meaningful books in my life and how I was first introduced to them. So it's funny because when I went over to the bookshelf, I was kind of like looking through it, and I was like, no. The first one I came across was Franny and Zoe by J.D. Salinger, and right underneath it was Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Now, this copy, I think I got like in high school. I could probably look and see. Well, it won't say in here because they'll say the original publication date. But I don't know when I got this copy of it. I've had multiple copies, and I actually have multiple copies of it. I feel like at one point, my Aunt Kathy, because she used to buy me vintage books, I feel like she bought me a beautiful vintage copy of it. It's nowhere in this house because I have gone through everything. So I don't know where that book is. I don't know if I lost it or where it is today, but it's nowhere in this house because I've gone through all the books in this house, and it's nowhere. Unless it's at the bottom of some box that I have not gone through yet, but there's probably only 2 or 3 boxes in the basement that I haven't gone through. So I pulled off the shelf A Christmas Carol, and I was like, okay, should I save this for December? And I was like, well, it's kind of like Christmas in July, so let's talk about it now. So let's talk about my introduction to the book A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, which to this day is probably my all-time favorite Christmas story. I think even not just as a Christmas story. So for those of you that don't know, let me read the synopsis. If you've never read A Christmas Carol before, if you've never seen one of the 900 movies about it, let me read you the synopsis. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and this is also his other Christmas stories that he wrote. Dickens' the most beloved A Christmas Carol is as much a part of traditional Christmas as mistletoe carolers and candlelight processions. Read publicly on Christmas Eve each year by Dickens himself, this heartwarming tale continues to stir in everyone the same feelings of repentance, forgiveness, and love that transformed Scrooge from his grumbling bah humbug to sharing Tiny Tim's happy God bless us everyone. Dickens' other Christmas stories, and it goes on to talk about all the other ones in there. But if you don't know what Christmas Carol is about, it's about this guy, and he's just very focused on money, and he doesn't really care about anything other than money, and his name is Ebenezer Scrooge. And the whole thing takes place on Christmas Eve. Well, the majority of it. The last part of it takes place on Christmas Day, the very last part of it. And he has lost his business partner Marley, years before, and so it's just him in the shop counting his money, and he has this guy that works for him whose name is Bob Cratchit, and whose son walks on a crutch, and they don't think that he will live much longer and things like that, and the family is very, very poor, and so he has this guy that works for him, and Ebenezer Scrooge is very cruel, very mean, and looks at the world in a very nasty way. So that night, when he is going home, he is warned by the ghost of his old business partner, Jacob Marley, that he is going to, I don't know how I remember all of this. I mean, I've seen the movie and read the book so many times. This is actually a book I have read quite a few times. And like it was a year ago or maybe a year before, I bought the graphic novel of it. It was so bad I didn't even end up finishing it. But I mean, it was just corny. It just wasn't even like, it wasn't a good graphic novel of it. I'm sure there's one out there. But anyway, he's warned by the ghost of his old business partner, Jacob Marley, who wears these chains of all the things he did in his earthly life that weigh him down in his afterlife, that he's going to be visited by 3 ghosts: the ghost of his past, the ghost of his present, and the ghost of his future. And so throughout the Christmas Eve night, he is, although I think in the book it says it's like 3 different nights, I think, if I remember correctly in the book. The movies and the shows are different, but I feel like in the book, if I remember correctly, it's like a ghost each night for 3 nights or something like that. Does anybody else, like, I don't remember the last time I read it, but does anybody else remember it that way as well? But anyway, so he's visited by these 3 ghosts, and the ghost of the past is kind of like he was put in this boarding school, and his sister comes to visit him, and his first love, and what happens with that, and it kind of shows and explains what made Ebenezer Scrooge who he is today. And then the present is like all these parties. His nephew comes to his sister that's passed away, and like asks him to like come to Christmas, and he won't go, and so it's them like making fun of him while he's there, and then the future is kind of like what will happen to Tiny Tim, Bob Cratchit's son, what will happen to him, and all this kind of stuff. I think, and then he comes out of all of this and buys the biggest, I think, it's like a goose or something like that for the Cratchit family, and acts like he's real mad, but he takes it over to them and surprises all of them because basically what he's told of the ghosts of the future is that these are things that are yet to come, but they can be changed. And so he wants to be a different person. He wants to change. And the book is really, one of the reasons why I love the book, not just as a Christmas story, but as a book or a story in general, is that it's really about forgiveness and redemption of self. It's really not about forgiveness or redemption from other people, but it's really about making changes and growing within yourself. And I remember so before I ever read the book, I think I was 5, 6, or 7 years old, and my mom took me with like another friend of hers and their kids to go see the play at the Indianapolis Repertory Theater downtown, and we would go see it. That was like part of my growing up, is that every Christmas we would go see it, and we would go see Christmas Carol on stage, and every year they would do it different. But as a kid, what I couldn't wait for is that at the end they would always, like when Ebenezer Scrooge wakes up on Christmas morning and shouts out to the boy to go get the biggest goose to take to the Cratchit house and all this kind of stuff, is that it snows on stage. And that was the thing that I was the most excited about. And I always wanted to, as a kid, like be in the play, A Christmas Carol. And I just fell in love with it. And we went and saw it, I mean, every year, probably till I was in 7th or 8th grade. I think we went and saw it every year. I loved it. It was like such a fun like thing that we did every Christmas. And actually, a couple years ago, Alex and I and his friend, I got tickets and we went and saw A Christmas Carol again. It just brought back all those memories. I love it. But then after that, at some point, I think my mom bought me the book and we read it together. And so I probably was, the first time that I read the book, I read it with my mom. Like, I feel like she and I, like every night, she would read like a couple pages before Christmas. And so she read it to me the first time. And I think I was like 6 or 7. And then that was when I started watching all the movies. I've seen literally every version of Christmas Carol that exists. I think I've seen every one. I've seen like the 1940s one, the George C. Scott one, the Patrick Stewart one, Mickey's Christmas Carol. I've seen all of them. And I have to tell you, it's interesting because my favorite one actually is the Disney Pixar version with Jim Carrey. I actually think it's the best version of A Christmas Carol ever. It just, for some reason, the Pixar, and I'm not somebody that loves animated movies, but the Pixar animation of that just really encompasses what London looked like at that time. I mean, what you imagine it looked like at that time. And just the magic of Christmas and the snow falling, and just the opening scene is one of my favorite opening scenes of any movie. Like when they're like flying through like London and all that kind of stuff. I love it. It's probably my favorite version of it ever. And so A Christmas Carol for me is something that, you know, it's so interesting that, let's see if it has the original publication date in here of when this movie, it says Charles Dickens was born on February 2nd, 1812. Does it say when A Christmas Carol came out? Pickwick Papers, 1837, 1836 sketches by Boss. It doesn't say in here when this, does it say when it first came out? Okay, so this version was 1984 when I got this copy. So I would have been 12 years old when I got this copy. It originally came out, does it even say on here? It doesn't even say the original copyright date on here. But in the 1800s it came out. So, no, it doesn't say the original copy date. I'm kind of surprised it doesn't have that in here, original. Nope. Has introduction, doesn't say when it was originally. Oh wait, by March 1844, Christmas Carol is in its 6th edition. So between Christmas Carol, so like in the early 1840s. So, you know, you think about this, and this book is almost, you know, 200 years old, and the sentiment of it still stands strong today. I mean, that's pretty powerful, you know, for a story. And there's so many different, like, spin-offs of this, like Scrooge, I think with Bill Murray. There's so many different spin-offs of this that have been made. It's been used in so many TV shows like Glee, you know, and they continue to tell the story. I mean, that's really the power of a story right there, you know. And I love that today it still holds so true about forgiveness and redemption of self, and really about the ultimate power that it's never too late to change those things about yourself that you don't like. I love this book. I love this story so much. Anyway, if you've ever read it, or let me know in the comment section below. Actually, I'd be more interested in this. Let me know what your favorite movie or TV adaptation of this is. Anyway, if you guys like this series, let me know, and I will continue this series, and I'll just randomly pick a book off the shelf, something that most people will know, and I'll pick it off the shelf, and I'll tell you guys the history of when the first time that I read it and why it still means something to me today. Anyway, I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.